welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the Microsoft Innovation Podcast. We're back in the UK to talk to Kevin. He's a director of modern workplace over at Avanade. From building custom Copilot agents and acting like your own AI project manager to designing real-world adoption insights for massive enterprises, our guest is deep in the trenches of what's next when it comes to Copilot. Full links are in the show notes as always. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you very much for having me. And I love that idea of being deep in the trenches. It does feel like that at times, defending some of the things we're doing.
So much is happening, in the Copilot space. And I feel something has changed in that now en masse companies are going, we need to get actually serious about this Copilot thing. And our staff are begging for it.
We've had a couple of hills, I think. There's been that initial, I'm still astounding that companies were paying to be on the preview for Copilot. There was that much excitement and they were flooding Microsoft with a request for that. So we had the early adopters who just went, boom, yes, I really want this. This is going to change everything. And then there was a little bit of a lull where kind of those who hadn't gone very early were kind of like, we're going to wait and see what happens. And now I absolutely agree. There's another burst of people going, okay, we're hearing that productivity. We're hearing good things about it. We want to carry on with that as well. And I think agents are coming into this so you can do even more, as you say.
I like it. Food, family, and fun. What do they mean to you, Kevin? Where are you located in the UK?
So I'm in a lovely little town called Sevenoaks, which is just southeast of London. We're just, for those who know UK, the M25, that's kind of sometimes thought of the edge of London. We're just outside there. So beautifully connected. I can head into our office, just next to the big walkie-talkie building for anyone who knows, London. But also I've got fields near us. There's a lovely park with deer there and, nice space. I've got 3 boys. So, having space is very, very important to me, and things on that. So I'd say family is very important. Just had a nice day with 2 of my boys and my wife yesterday down at the beach in Brighton, and just chilling out and remembering fondly a family member who passed away a few years ago. So we kind of use it as an excuse to have a nice fun day together, which is good there. Sadly, my other son is off interrailing, which I'm even more jealous about. So he's traveling, about to join a gap year, traveling around South America. So I will look on, and I have been actually looking to see if there's any conferences in South America I can find an excuse to go and meet up with him there, but nothing I can afford so far.
Why did you choose South America?
If I'm honest, I suspect slightly it's somewhere I've never been and my wife's never been. So I think he's kind of going, I can beat you on this one. But I think he actually went to Ecuador a couple of years ago on a school trip. They were kind of helping out in villages, doing a lot of trekking there. So he's seen a bit of South America, and I think he wanted to see a bit more. He speaks a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of Portuguese, so that will help him as well on that. So yeah, we're very jealous. We're like, where are you going? Well, I'm going to fly into Colombia and then see what happens. I'm just like, oh, freedom. I remember those days of freedom from there as well. And to tie it back to your other questions, I know he's going to Argentina, and I'm hugely jealous of the kind of beef and gorgeous red wine I'll have there. A big fan of smoking meats and things like that, using sort of Weber barbecue and getting long, slow cooks that you spend ages kind of going back and forth checking on. I love the tech around that as well. I've got one of the kind of Inkbird thermometers so I can keep an eye on it. I was very naughty over Christmas. My wife's very religious, so we do try and go to church at Christmas, but I have my phone there kind of checking the temperature of the turkey while I'm there. And
isn't it great? So this is on the Weber app, right?
I actually use the Inkbird app. So the Weber one's lovely. It's got Bluetooth, but the Inkbird's got the wireless, so I can check it wherever I am. Oh no, I can panic and kind of hustle people out the church a lot quicker. to make sure it needs
I've
a
got
bit warming up.
Inkbird in my greenhouse, which monitors my heat mats on my growing tables. But I'm on Bluetooth with the Weber when I'm cooking on the Weber. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So yeah, that's food and fun merged together. But I'd say if I didn't have a job, I'd be doing a lot more of things like that, using things like Home Assistant, automating it. I keep getting it moving. You see some of the lights I've got in the office, especially the Lego ones, were hooked up with Home Assistant. You know those stories people say about enterprise where make sure you back everything up? I didn't listen to that. Something crashed on my Pi and I lost all the configuration and haven't quite built up the energy to redo all of it. So I'd love to have more time, spend a bit more on that. I follow a lot of the Home Assistant groups, but press the button, everything turns on, everything's monitored, all your power. I'd love to have that going. But that keeps me entertained when I do have a bit of time.
If I say the wrong command right now, this whole room will just monitors everything gone. Everything goes off. And the only one that I haven't, you can see there's a little LED guy up here, which is a rocket. And it's a new one and it doesn't have Wi-Fi built in. So I've just bought a Wi-Fi adapter, which I need to wire into it so that it also joins the community of on and offs.
I'd say I also have one of those little infrared boxes that's kind of hooked up to Home Assistant. So a lot of the Lego lights. I know the Back to the Future one behind me, and the Lamborghini. I need to kind of manually go and switch on up the top, which I don't do very often, and I've just noticed I forgot now. But they are meant to go in that, and I have a disco mode. So when I'm bored, they all kind of flash in different orders, which is just to cheer me up in the morning when I'm feeling grumpy.
I like it. Tell me about, and it's interesting because I'm doing this podcast with you about Avanade and your role in the UK, and I spoke to your counterpart this morning in the US in Avanade, and what she's doing there with Copilot, which was super interesting. But you've been doing this for a while now. You've been helping companies around M365 Copilot adoption. Give me some stories from the trenches. What have you seen that works well, and what have you seen that doesn't work well, or where you've seen kind of poor uptake, and you clearly can see why there's been poor uptake?
Now, I need to get not too corporate with some of these. What works well is that when companies engage and invest in adoption. Now, obviously, I'd love that to be with partners and going and bringing them on to help. But I think where companies bring people along, they invest that time to make sure the training's there to help build that habit. I think Microsoft's talked about the story of saving 11 minutes per day over 11 weeks. And you see a dip. You have that initial excitement when people get their first license, they start using it. If you don't build the habit, that will tail off. So having those ones, having that gamification, having sessions that people can drop in, hearing stories of your colleagues of how they've been using it and helpful, all of those things. And I found it myself. I found it over about 8 weeks that I was really excited. And then I found I was only using it for demos. I hadn't built it into my day-to-day habits on there. And that habit forming is really, really important on there. Because if you don't have that, it's just going to tail away. And the only way to build that is by repeating those stories, repeating that this is the benefits you can get. This is the benefits you can get. You don't want to overwhelm people. You don't want to scare them. You don't want to... I'll let you bleep this out if it's not too bad, but don't want to piss people off too much on there. You want to keep them kind of focused on that. And that is so important. So the organizations I've seen win from that are those that keep those things happening and measure. We talk a lot in Avanade about value measurements of it because you want to measure how much people are using it. You want to measure what people are doing, but you also want to get that feeling as well from people. Do they feel they're getting value? Can you see numbers that measure that? So that will change per organization. Different organizations will care about different things. So what that value is to them, are they looking at productivity saving? Are they looking at higher quality of results? And interestingly, we've we've seen productivity saving on there. I can't remember the numbers. I think we've seen like an hour a day. I think it was about between 45 minutes and an hour a day of time saving. But we're not seeing that kind of come back and saying, oh, great, we can reduce the amount of work and we can go home early. What people are doing are reinvesting that time into quality. So the output of things is much better. And I see that myself as well, that I get that time back. But instead of kind of just staring at a screen and feeling that pain, where do I get started or how do I rewrite this? I'm using Copilot to rewrite it, getting a good idea and then spending longer on that real minutiae. Whereas before I may have gone, yeah, that's good enough. I need to get it out the door, get it out that way. So that quality is coming back into there. And to go back to your kind of question, what are we seeing with companies? And we've seen a lot of companies that we spoke to at the beginning who decided to go alone with rolling out Copilot. They're not putting in place those adoptions. They're not helping people build those habits. They're not measuring the value. And now they're going, well, hang on, we're spending all these money on licenses, but no one's really using it. Why not? It's amazing. And we're like, yeah, because people know it's amazing, but if they haven't found ways to build it into the day-to-day ways of things, they don't do it from there. So I'd say building those habits, supporting people through the adoption, and measuring the value that means something to your company are three big things I'd advise people on.
What resonated with there is the quality, because you have the more time to spend on that. You know, today I spent 3 hours writing a proposal that in the past would have been a multi-day activity to do. But part of my cleanup sequence in my Word document is I go through, so I save it off, it's in SharePoint, I then bring it back into Copilot, and then I say, listen, I need you to now QA this Word document and look for everything from formatting to, did I mention dates at 2 different locations? I don't give it that detail, but it takes that into account, right? And make sure all my math adds up in the tables for the pricing, and make sure my dates are correct. Was I consistently with the phraseology, the capitalization even of phrases throughout the, in this case, 20-page proposal? And that's I would have never spent that time on that level of detail because I've spent so much building. I just want to get it off my plate now. And that's what it's really allowing to do, is that fine quality control. You're so right.
And absolutely. And I love the comparison, because yes, we could compare documents before and we could take different versions, but you used to get so many versions of that. And it would be like someone's put a dot in there or they've changed format. It's like that's distracting me from what I really need to do. Almost by doing it with Copilot, I can ask it to kind of hit their higher priorities, and I can give it things like, I really want you to focus on, I'd love to hear one on kind of the common verbiage. I know we're not on video, but behind me is a lovely t-shirt on how to spell Copilot. It is a capital C and a lowercase p, no hyphens and things like that. Having those things. But one of the things that particularly bugs me when people spell Copilot wrong is when they inconsistently spell it wrong. And I think that's the same in documents. I'll be honest, if you're going to get it wrong, just be consistent, have that level of quality within there, because otherwise you're really hitting it. So picking up those as priorities that you couldn't do when you had just a full list of things on there, that again accelerates and means you're getting to the higher level things, the important bits first, without getting bogged down. And I really, really found that useful. And another way I'm just such a huge fan of the researcher agent, which takes a little bit more time to generate and run. But I'm going off on holiday. I'm pretty much off for 3 weeks in a row. So there's kind of fair few things I need to hand over. If I had to go through all my messages, all my emails, all my Teams ones, I would miss so much and pick some there. I've run the researcher agent today and it's given me in a format. I asked it to sort of pick up the key things I'm working on. I've then asked it to do it again. It's given me a list of tasks that I need to do, of things to hand over and things I've missed. And I've now got a starter. Would I just hand that over as it is? No, but it's given me such a powerful starter to get moving with. And I know with the kind of base Copilot, it would have done enough, but it only would have brought some things. With the researcher, I know it's gone back and forth and dug to that extra level as well, which is really, really helpful.
So what are your other kind of edge use cases that you're finding you're using it in? And if you want to blow somebody away with what you can do, you might pull this out. And I'll give you a couple of grounding examples. So one is Microsoft Forms, right? If you go in there and you have a robust prompt, you can build a form, quiz, whatever, that looks amazing. And it's just brilliant, right? It saves so much time and manual entry of building, laying out those. And then I was talking to somebody else recently, and their feature was Whiteboard, Copilot and Whiteboard. And that they'll kick off a workshop and go to the floor. What are some ideas? And everyone's like, when you start a workshop, everyone's kind of quiet. Nobody wants to take that first move. And so his thing is, he goes, hey, why don't we get Copilot to kick us off? And it goes and puts 4 Post-it notes on the board with ideas around. And he goes, what? It's crazy. He said, everybody all of a sudden, they're off to the races. And just that little nudge, that little opening of 4 Post-it notes going on the board. And he said the whole room comes alive and they all start contributing and, adding their ideas and thoughts and things like that. What about you? What are your kind of, and don't tell me it's PowerPoint, Copilot and PowerPoint, but because honestly, my expectations are off the Richter scale, what I'd like that to do. And it seems a long way before it's going to get there.
Okay, so I'm going to answer 2 of your ideas and finish them off slightly, and then come to my main one that I really think on there. I've touched on Researcher Agent. That probably would be my go-to. I love that in so many different ways. Pulling together white papers and items on that is so powerful. But Whiteboard, I have a slight issue because I love it. I love the Copilot capability. My problem is that I don't think Whiteboard's good enough as a tool. So you kind of have to take all the problems with that. I'd love if we could take that and put it into Mural or there's another one, Klaxoon on there, and take that functionality. Yeah, I wish that had those functionality with all those different things in there, because the thing I actually love in whiteboards is I remember one workshop we spent 2 hours. We'd taken all the ideas. This group wouldn't shut up. It was my old company. Hi, Steve and others, if you're listening. We had so many ideas. The debates about how we group things together took so long to get moving on there. Now in Whiteboard, I can say group these together into common themes. Again, they're not always perfect, but it gave us, I tried it again, and literally in 5 minutes, we had a good grouping. We spent another 5 minutes just kind of refining it slightly, and we moved on to the important thing of what we do about that. I love that kind of grouping of things together. The speed that gives you is really useful. And I have before actually worked in Murals, kind of the one we use at Avanade most. I've exported that, put it into Whiteboard, grouped it, taking it back out, and continue the conversation in Mural from there. So you're using those features where they're useful on there. PowerPoint. Yeah, I'm not going to fight you on that one. Don't go in and just say, make this look beautiful. It's still not there. It's getting better. I've heard the work the team are putting into there, making it more able to understand what means to you. You have your corporate templates, you have stars you want to do, getting it to work on that. I know is absolutely a goal from Microsoft's. Whether it gets there, whether they'll see, I'm not going to comment too much before I get in trouble on there. But I would say with a lot of Copilot, keep trying things out. Things keep getting improved day by day. One of the things I'd love to do is to write a kind of script that ran a standard set of prompts and features and sort of save the outputs from that to see how it changes over time, because it evolves. Sometimes announced, sometimes not. So keep going back to things. Excel, I think, has improved hugely on there. But the one thing I'd say in PowerPoint that I love is if you've done PowerPoint courses, you know not to put too many words on there. And working at a consultancy, heavily connected with Accenture, that is something we're not very good at. We love putting a lot of words on those screens because, you're obviously paying for every word on the screen on there, on that, which I personally don't think you should be presenting like. So using it to kind of refine that very wordy one, taking out the bulk of the text and summarizing that, saying, create me another copy that's a lot better for presenting with, summarize this down into bullet points. That I find very powerful within the PowerPoint use of Copilot. So rather than looking at it as a whole presentation, look at it almost on a slide by slide basis, you get a much better result. But the one thing that people really should try more of is Copilot Notebooks. And I was actually discussing this with a product group 2 days ago. The problem with notebooks is everyone, especially those who've been connected with the Microsoft space, they go off and talk about, they're thinking of OneNote, they're thinking of Loop and going, oh, why is there another thing in there? I would love it if they renamed it Scrapbook, because and friends who are listening to this are going to go, oh God, Kev's going to talk about Viva Topics again. But Notebooks is like Viva Topics. It's giving you that ability to pull things from all these different places. I work in a very large consultancy, lots of different teams in different areas creating great content, and there's overlap between those. And there's a certain amount of information architecture that can help bring those things together. But there's certain times where I go, right, so-and-so has shared this with me. So-and-so, she's put this in this place. I just want this in one place that I can go to and store it together. And you can store your previous chats within there. So your chats with Copilot, whether that's with Researcher, whether that's with the standard Copilot, you can put all those in one place. So I have an agentic notebook. I have a Copilot Studio. And every time I see something really useful from people, I bung it into there. If there's something I can't, that maybe isn't in a document, I'll put it into a Copilot page, and then I'll put it into there. And suddenly I have one place that I can go back and refer to. If I need to search it, then I've got a lovely prompt box within there that I can use that will just be grounded on that information within that as well. So I can ask questions about that. So suddenly I've got a common topic of all the things I need to talk about. I use this a lot when we're doing bids. So I put all the bid documents. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. It has been known at some places that people don't always put them into their formal folder, and they put it into this team, and there's one in OneDrive, and there's different versions. I can bring those together in one place for me where I can work on that, and I can ask questions. So I can go through and say, have we filled this out? And it will go through and have a look through that content, not for a specific document, because we've often got multiple documents we need to provide to. And when I'm going to the client, I can create a little audio summary. Going back to the habit conversation, I haven't built the habit quite as much as I feel I should have done for this, but this is something I'm trying to force myself into. Is just before you're going to the meeting, get that audio summary as you're walking to the office, as you're driving to the office, just put that on and listen to that. And you've got that little snippet reminder, and you can ask it to say, can you pull out these key pieces? I want you to summarize this. I want you to think about the structure of how I'm going to speak and bring me back information for that, just so it's fresh in my head. It's fresh with that presentation from there. And it's really powerful. And as soon as they can get these notebooks and make them sharing it so that people can work together on these, I'm really hoping Microsoft does bring that extra functionality. Then I think we'll be in a really, really good place with that. And I'll lament the loss of topics a little bit less.
I was going to say, you must have been sad when topics went away.
Absolutely gutted. And it's something we used at Avanade a lot when I joined. Obviously, I joined, Zoe Wilson was there. And I'd be like, what do we do around frontline worker? Go and check the topic. What do we do? What are we doing around sort of teams? Go and check the topic. And genuinely, people were curating the things there. It was finding content, and people were curating it, adding bullet points and building out that single place to go to. And I'd love to get us back to a place where that's happening and powered by AI.
Decommissioned. And they've decommissioned a few other Viva things lately. Goals is gone as now, isn't it?
It is very sad. I was my two big things I loved in Viva was topics and goals. So I feel particularly hurt. It's fair to say on that one. And I kind of get it from Microsoft. I'm not here to just bash them for killing things off and renaming. Microsoft looks at what things are being used, how much it costs them, how much money they're making from it. And if they don't see a change in that, they will kill it off. And I think goals especially was something that I found very sad. And another podcast I was recording the other day, it was actually outside the Microsoft space. And the guy said, yeah, no one uses OKRs. They've never seen a company use that effectively. I was like, I have, but yeah, not enough, because you need to put in that culture. You need to build that habit. You need to teach people about how to do OKRs properly. And then the tools support that. And too many organizations just go, I want that tool. That's going to solve everything for me. And that's the same as Copilot is not going to be the case.
Yeah, my wife worked at Google for 10 years and they used OKRs very effectively. It was an entire top to bottom organizational culture. Everybody was trained on it. Everybody knew it. Everybody understood it. And it was a common language through their business. And it was very, very powerful.
And it drives change when it's done well. If you want to hear that Google story, Measure What Matters by John Doerr, Doerr. Absolutely fantastic. But even if you don't use OKRs, understanding how you drive change, how you align people. I love the story in that of YouTube when they were moving from kind of video views to hours or minutes watched. And because they set that as an OKR, everyone connected with YouTube was driven to make that change and make that change happen. And it changed the way they do advertising. And that's, I'm sorry to say, that's why you have adverts in the middle, because everyone realized we need to win this as a goal. We need to think about ways this happen. And it's so powerful there.
Kevin, I could talk to you for hours, already 8-9 minutes over time. It's been great talking to you. Let's do this again before too long. We won't do it on the MVP show. We'll do it something with a bit of a longer run format in the future.
That sounds good. Maybe I can leave a takeaway. Please, everyone, learn about agents, whether in Copilot, whether in separate. Think about how they can help you automate on there. Don't be scared of them. Work out how you're going to set the boundaries. Work out how you're going to do them effectively from that. And because if you bury your head in the sand, you're going to be left behind with these.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.